right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Today, I want to talk about, is being healthy extreme? Now, don't mind me. It's around 7 o'clock by the time I'm recording this. I just came in, had a basketball kind of game. Well, not game, like a workout this morning. And on my way home, so don't mind the sweatiness. I just have a busy day ahead of me and don't have time to make regular content. So I want to talk about something more important, and I'm going to put this, in the context of my story. So if you're new here, this might be useful for you. But is being healthy extreme? Well, I guess it depends on what you call, extreme, because, I'm sure a lot of you were home, for the holidays, Memorial Day, maybe saw some friends, some family members. And, if you're trying to do the right thing, if you're trying to be healthy, like you feel a little bit like an outcast. And that's absolutely, going to be the case, here in America at this point. When you consider the fact, I used to see like the numbers 11, 12, but now like 8% of Americans somewhat are metabolically healthy. So, if this is something you really want to do and pursue, you are going to stick out, you are going to be different, and you are just going to have to get comfortable with that to some degree. There really is no way around that from a societal perspective when you see the way we're going. But, it depends on what you think is extreme. I would say, extreme is cracking someone's rib cage open to perform, an open heart surgery. Or I would say extreme is getting hooked up to a machine to filter your blood because your kidneys can't do it. Or I would say extreme is, maybe cutting off toes or a limb or something because of gangrene or something due to diabetes. So it depends on, I think that's extreme. I don't think it's extreme to, eat some more fruits and vegetables and maybe not have some dairy. But, each of us has their own opinion. They can all, you can really do whatever you want. It's your life. I'm not here to tell you necessarily what to do. I'm just here to kind of give you the perspective of, what is extreme. It is common. Open heart surgery is common. Dialysis, centers, there's a lot more of them now than there were when I was born. So, they're becoming more common. It doesn't necessarily mean it's normal. And what I notice is, you might agree with that statement, and then, you might say, hey, like I'm ready. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to do what it takes. And when I hear that, and I've talked with other practitioners about this, and you can tell, almost 5 to 10 minutes, I would say, into meeting someone, I'm ready to heal. Like, what do I have to do has two meanings. Or you can tell them, a couple things. And I'm going to put this, in context of my story. So for me, I was generally like a pretty, healthy kid growing up. I played a bunch of sports in high school. I ended up, being lucky enough to play ball in college. And while I was there, it wasn't really until college I had any health issues at all. And what happened was in the first like 12 to 18 months of college, I put on like 25, 30 pounds, developed seasonal allergies, never had that before. I called it like brain fog fatigue. I called it a need for coffee. So I never had coffee before I went to college. And me kind of always being a morning person, just that I felt that. And then digestive issues. I tended to lean more towards the side of like constipation. And, that was a big deal for me going away to school for, 4 years and then another 4. So, it was a big deal, and they kind of grew on. In my infinite wisdom at the time, I thought that, I was working out a lot. I was staying active. I was, playing sport. So, I figured, I thought it was a lot of muscle mass, and didn't really think much, didn't connect the weight gain with the other symptoms. Didn't take into account, the quality of food, they serve at campuses, and obviously going out drinking a bunch. All the things that kind of go along with, what you would consider more of a standard kind of way of, going to college here in America. And I went actually to chiropractic school with the intent of going into sports medicine exclusively. So I worked with the strength and conditioning coach when I was on campus. And I liked kind of, connecting with the kids who were rehabbing, who were coming off injury, trying to get, back on the field, back on the court, whatever. And that's really what kind of pushed me to want to go to chiropractic school. It had nothing to do with this, internal healing and the body heals itself necessarily. It was more of just kind of getting in that space. And it wasn't until I took biochemistry in chiropractic school. We had a naturopath teach our class, and she just taught it in a much different way than I remembered learning it in undergrad. And it informed me, I think, enough to pursue a master's degree kind of like while I was there. So I was getting both the degrees at the same time. All the while, mind you, I still have the same problems now. Say I'm like 2.5 years into chiropractic school, having the same issues I had in college. Now I learned how to cook, I learned how to do some other things on my own, but didn't put the two together. And then I'd say about a year into that, after starting that master's program, it was something I was kind of really passionate about and learning about. I decided, hey, like if I'm learning this and I'm spending all this money, I might as well start putting it to the test and, seeing if any of this stuff works. So all those symptoms I was talking about, the weight gain, the allergies, the brain fog, the lethargy, especially in the morning, all of these were still there. The need for coffee, that was real. All of these were still there. And it wasn't until I started making these changes, in my nutrition, especially that, cutting out some of the stuff that I was talking about earlier, really getting more intentional with what I was putting in my body, that stuff started to change. But here's the important part. It didn't change overnight. It took, I would say, like 2 months to start seeing some of the digestive symptoms and the energy bounce back. And it took probably another 5 or 6 for all the weight to come off. So you're talking all in all, somewhere between like 8-9 months to potentially a year. Now there wasn't no date. I was slowly adapting. I was slowly adding. It wasn't like I cut everything out one day. It was tooling. It was learning, over time. And by the time I got to that, I was about ready to graduate. And I was like, holy crap, like if I can do it and I'm just some dude who happened to learn some stuff, but it's more about the action and just the doing, the day-to-day, the reps, anyone can do it. And I, to this day, believe that. But I'd say that story because you usually get 2 types of people who come in. And if you tell them like, hey, like, if you've been dealing with this for 10, 15, 20 years, you might have to give yourself a year or 2, of really staying intentional and healing if you want to see some changes. And, you get 2 types of responses. Like, is it going to be, oh, is that all it's going to take? Or, oh, that's how long it's going to take? And you could say literally the same thing, but the inflection changes the tone, changes the energy, changes the intention behind it. So I say that because a lot of folks, and again, I went home this weekend for Memorial Day. I'm sure you did too. Everyone's looking for this like magical fix or this magical pill, because a lot of times that second statement, a translation of it could be, how can I continue these crappy habits and just add something to make it go away? And that's just not realistic. That's not how it works. You can't continue to have the processed foods. You can't continue to have the blue light come in. You can't, especially at night, you can't continue to sleep like crap. You can't continue to be a caffeine addict. You can't continue to not get outside or get sunlight every day. I know you see it kind of coming in because I'm driving home, and expect to get better. You have to do all of it. And, you can start with one of those things and be intentional, but you have to understand that it's a game that you're playing for the rest of your life. It's not something that you get to a point and all of a sudden it stops and everything's going to be okay. It is something that requires intention and effort every single day. So, if you're in that headspace, you can tell, like I said, very quickly, who are the folks that are going to heal most likely very quickly, compared to those who maybe aren't in a headspace, aren't at, don't have that as a vibrational match, at this given time. So, my point is, it's not necessarily your job to try to convince others, but, it is your job to take care of yourself first. And I see a lot of folks looking to externalize their own pain, maybe by taking up another, habit. But the truth is, when it comes to your health, you have to come to yourself first, because the truth is you actually do a better job at whatever you're doing. Whether it's, your job, whether you want to work at volunteer somewhere, whether you want to, donate time to help, other people or animals or your community or whatever. Truth is, you show up and do better when you take care of yourself first. And if we continue to outsource it like we've seen for the past 3 years, if we continue to look to someone else instead of realize that everything you have, I'm looking outside, you see all these trees, how to grow, how to shed their leaves, when, all of this is known, it's bred into us. Healing is actually born into us. We don't have to learn how to do it. It's just connecting back with nature and taking that disconnect away. So, unfortunately, in this world, it is going to take sticking out. It is going to be doing something different than what is considered, quote unquote, well, it's common, it's not normal. So, what I encourage you to do is just get comfortable with that. Sit with that. Believe it or not, more people are watching than you think. And when you set an example and you do it for long enough, people will take notice and people will ask questions. Now, you might get ribbed or, joked at, from time to time, but, you have to do what's best for you. And ultimately, the more you act, the more you show up for yourself, the better you're going to find people who are at that same wavelength, same vibration. And, sometimes that means shedding different people or relationships over time. That's okay. Or just maybe just distancing yourself. But it ultimately ends up putting you in a better situation. So, all this just to say, if you are truly ready, it's all there for the taking. It's just a question of, are you ready to stand out and be different and make the changes you need? So, I hope you have a wonderful start to your week. See you guys next time. Bye.